You know, normally when I talk about Pokemon on this channel, whether it be in the form of a Let's Play, or Countdown, or other miscellaneous video, it's usually done in a pretty positive fashion. Well, not today. Yeah, it is true that there is awesomeness to be had in Pokemon. You got your Dragonites, your Arceuses, Arceus, you got your Mega Evolvos, and that's all fine and dandy. What's not fine and dandy is when us fans of the franchise are super hyped for a particular Pokemon, but when we come around to actually obtaining the creature, we're a little, what's the word I'm looking for?
Disappointed!
Oh yeah, that's it. Thanks, Kevin Sorbo. Disappointing Pokemon is the topic of today, and please try not to confuse that with Pokemon that are bad. A few of the Pokemon on this list are actually not so bad. If I were to make a list of horrible Pokemon, I would have named it Top 10 Pokemon that suck pokey balls, not Top 10 disappointing Pokemon. One last thing I should throw out there is that this list is way opinionated, as these Pokemon probably only affected me on a personal level, and most likely nobody else. Well, now that all the disclaimers have been mentioned and no one's gonna murder me in my sleep, I can present to you my silly list. Just kick back, snort some marijuanas, and let me do the rest. Enjoy. Number 10, Emboar.
Oh, hell no!
Hold on, give me a second to explain myself. Remember how I said not all these Pokemon are puny weaklings? Well, you can apply that statement here because Emboar is actually quite the powerhouse. So, how exactly did this behemoth made of flames and fists let me down? Well, it mostly had everything to do with the typing. The firefighting starter getup was pretty cool at first, but after Infernape, I was just ready for something new. Most of us were. Emboar, being a firefighting type, however, did not satisfy our taste for change. Now, I know it's possible that some of you are still raging at me for saying such blasphemous things, but before you hit that unsubscrizzle button, know that even some people who like the firefight combo were disappointed in our swine friend here. For you see, he didn't hardly know any fighting attacks. I haven't checked up on his updated move pool for X and Y recently, but in Black and White, all Emboar could learn was Arm Thrust, which is pretty upsetting for what is supposedly a fighting type. Okay, I'm done. You can rage now. Number 9, Flygon. Okay, I know a lot of people like this Pokemon, so it may be upsetting to see him on this list. I personally love Flygon, but I think it's a little unfair how Game Freak built him, as he's not the greatest competitively due to his move pool and stats. But I wish he was! On a more personal level, Flygon has affected me as well. Upon playing through my first run of Pokemon Sapphire, I obtained a Trapinch who I trained diligently, but the process was painful because he wouldn't evolve until level 30-ish, and thus, kept getting his ass handed to him. However, I was determined to see what his final form was. The final evolution was cool, but I couldn't help but feel unsatisfied since I was only able to use him near the very end of the game. It also didn't help that Crunch, one of his more powerful moves, used special attack, while Flygon was a physical attacker. And my Flygon in Pokemon XD had just about only one good move, that being Earthquake, and that would end up killing my other Pokemon anyways. Overall, I like the Pokemon. Me and him just have a bad reputation together. Remember the unveiling of fairy types? Remember Spritzee? I used to sit down and try to conceive what Spritzee's evolution could potentially look like. Well, it kinda looks like a toucan. Maybe it'll evolve into an immaculate, beautiful, fairy flying type that— oh my god, what is that? Instead, we got this chubby thing, Aromatice. I'm not usually one to judge a Pokemon by its competitive capabilities, but if you want to take that route, Aromatice isn't very cut out for the job. Its use of Trick Room and somewhat good special attack makes it potentially useful, but only if you get very creative. To be 100% honest though, I think the main reason I was disappointed in the poke was the fact that I set my expectations way too high. I envisioned Spritzee having 2 evolutions, each being more badass than the previous. Like most people, I expected a bird-looking Pokemon, and for a while there was actually a Plague Doctor concept floating around the internet, and that concept ultimately blew my mind and had my hopes sent sky high. I know that it may sound incredibly whiny of me, but this is simply my honest personal experience in a nutshell. Did I mention that this list was 100% opinionated? You You know what ironically wasn't a present? Delbird, who is number 7 on this list. The Pokemon on this list thus far have not been half bad, but that ends now, for Delbird is irrefutably awful. In Pokemon Silver, which was the game that I was playing at the time, Delbird was a rare encounter, so, without knowing a single thing about this Santa bird, I began a highly anticipated, highly suspenseful search. Me finding Delbird goes a little something like this. Whoa, what's that? That's new. Looks kinda cool. Peekaboo, weaken it. Whoa! Present? That's new. Present that explodes? That's awesome! And with a skip and a hop and a Pokeball away, Delbird was mine. Unfortunately, I wasn't aware of the fact that Present also has a chance to heal your enemy, which is complete bullocks. And it's the only move that the Pokemon learns via leveling up. Long story short, Delbird was very quickly boxed, lost to the eternal fathoms of the PC. But it can learn Splash as an egg move, so that's something, right? Number 6, Kecleon. Kecleon is one of those Pokemon that not very many people remember, and there's a darn good reason for that. He's garbage! But, out of naivete on my part, a younger me thought that Kecleon may prove to be a valid team member during my Sapphire playthrough. First of all, you don't see the dude for quite some time, but you're aware of something's presence since he's invisible and blocking paths. It's kinda like Jaws, where you know there's a shark, but you can't see him, so you just shudder with anticipation. Next, there are only a select few Kecleon that were actually easy to obtain. After you fought all the invisible ones, they were incredibly hard to encounter in the wild. So, for some reason, adolescent Mandals thought that meant he withheld some superb power. Sadly, after grinding in the grass for hours with him, I ultimately realized that he wasn't worth the struggle. It was cool to see that he had a unique ability though. However, Color Change is one of the worst abilities out there. Since it changes Kecleon's type to the type of whatever move he was hit with last, you can almost always use this to your advantage. Sometimes it works in his favor, but usually the end result is a super effective move to this chameleon's face. Number 5, Aloma hashtag this guy. Finally, I think I'm going to start being able to relate to you guys with this list. I'm pretty sure I don't stand alone when I say that everybody thought that this was Luvdisc's evolution. It makes sense, doesn't it? Alomamola's a fish, it's shaped like a heart, it's a water type, it's significantly bigger and looks far stronger. Confirmed?
Wrong!
Not sure if it was a cruel joke on Nintendo's behalf, but for whatever reason, Luvdisc does not evolve into Alomomola, which is just downright depressing. This hard candy looking thing needs all the extra oomph it can get, even if that means getting it from Alomomola. Alomomola may not be the greatest Pokemon, but it's undeniable that he's notably stronger. Their move pools are even similar, which just further ups the disappointment level for Alomomola. God, I hate saying Alomomola. Say Alomomola 5 times fast. I f***ing dare you. Number 4, Dragalge. To look at, Dragalge is the epitome of gorgeous. Its design is based on a leafy sea dragon, and on top of that, its dragon type is accompanied by poison type. It's as if Game Freak was like, yeah, fairies are strong against dragons now, but Dragalge doesn't give a shit. I was excited for Skrelp alone before X and Y came out, so upon hearing about his dragon poison evolution, Skrelp became a million times more sought after by me. Now, more often than not, dragon Pokemon are particularly powerful offensive-wise, but Dragalge turned out to be unexpectedly specially defensive. Now, that'd be fine and dandy if it weren't for one thing. His move pool consists mostly of moves that cause damage. Sure, he's got Double Team and Toxic, but loads of Pokemon can learn that via TM anyways. What's the point of having defense if you can only use offensive moves? His special attack isn't horrible, but it certainly doesn't compare to other dragon types. Just get yourself a Dragonite or Goodra, and you'll be much happier. Number 3, Ariadose. You know what I love? Spiders. You know what I wish I could love but don't? Ariadose. Obviously, not knowing anything about Ariadose back in the day would cause me to want him due to my childhood fascination with arachnids. I first captured Ariadose in Crystal version and was so stoked to finally have one by my side. But oh boy. If you think this Pokemon is bad now, try training one from Generation 2. It couldn't be done, nor should it be. For starters, he didn't have a single good bug or poison type attack, which is ludicrous considering that these are his 2 types. He learned Psychic eventually, but the absence of stab and special attack makes Ariadose a horrible contender for that move. The sad thing is, I actually trained one to level 70 before giving up on the Pokemon. And if you want to hear more depressing news, I grew greatly attached to one in my Pokemon XD Nuzlocke series, as Ariadose was both my weakest and longest living Pokemon. He was a trooper, but died right near the very end of the series. May you rest in peace, Buttface.
In the arms of the angel, fly
Number 2, Yanma. You know, a lot of these Pokemon, Delbird for example, are on here because they were hard to find, but in the end were just plain horrible. Yanma is horrible, alright, but what separates him from all the rest is the fact that I never found him. Not once could I encounter this dragonfly, and that sucked, because when I was younger, I desperately wanted one. Don't ask me why, maybe it was a weird fascination with dragonflies that I had at the time, who knows. Regardless, I wasn't going to get one because Mandals wasn't aware of the fact that you could only catch a Yanma at a very particular time in the morning, which just so happened to be the time that I was never searching for him. Many hours were wasted in this futile search. But in good time, I did get to play around with him in Stadium 2, but that's when I realized that he sucked competitively. Fortunately, he has been given an evolution, but Yanmega has upset me as well. Pokemon has always been pretty well known for its play on words, so with that in mind, why not make this Dragonfly a dragon type? No? It's gonna be bug flying? That's cool. We've got 1 billion of those by now, but yeah, that's cool, Game Freak. You do that. At last, here it is, the mother of all disappointments, the infamous Unknown. Oh yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Unless of course you don't, so in that case, I'll explain it to you. Nowadays, this Sesame Street inspired Pokemon is just looked at as worthless, but back in the day when I had no internet or guidebooks at my disposal, Unknown was shrouded in mystery. Firstly, I had no idea what the deal was with the Ruins of Alph. It didn't really seem to serve any purpose at a glance, but it contained strange puzzles and even this incredibly eerie tune that played if you turned on the Pokedex radio while visiting there. It's so cryptic. What does it mean? Well, nothing it turns out. You can solve the ruins puzzles which allow you to catch Unknown, but these guys are about as useless as a male Combee. They can learn 1 move, that being Hidden Power, which isn't very special whatsoever. In fact, this move can be learned by every single Pokemon. Well, uselessness as a Pokemon aside, there must be some hidden secret behind these Unknown. After all, there are 28 different kinds of them. Again, no. There's nothing cool to be seen. You can catch every single letter variation of Unknown and still, absolutely nothing will happen. I rest my case. I understand that this video probably didn't share a lot of the ideas that most of you have, so if you would kindly, please let me know in the comment section below which Pokemon personally disappointed you. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you just saw, and until next time, peace.